Andrew's Doers! Welcome to Encyclopedia Brown and the Case of the Midnight Visitor. Part 3. Now there are some people in the United States who had never heard of Idaville, but they were not policemen. Every policeman from Maine to California knew about Idaville. Anyone who broke the law there was caught. Not a single crook escaped. How could that be? What was the secret? No one ever guessed. Idaville looked like many other seaside towns its size. It had lovely beaches, 3 movie theaters, and 4 banks. It had churches, a synagogue, and 2 delicious casinos. And on Rover Avenue, it had a certain red brick house. In the house lived Idaville's secret weapon against crime, 10-year-old Encyclopedia Brown. Encyclopedia Brown, father, was the chief of the police. Because no one got away with breaking the law, the people of Idaville thought he was the bravest and smartest and police chief in the world. True, G. Brown was brave and he was smart enough to know what to do with a case that he could not solve. True, G. Brown was brave. Oops. He took it home to dinner. So he told his son the facts. Encyclopedia Brown usually figured out the answer before dessert. G. Brown hated keeping the help he got from his only child a secret. He wanted encyclopedias sneakers hung in the Crime Fighters Hall of Fame. But what good would it do to suggest? Who would take him seriously? Who would believe that the mastermind behind Idaville spotless believer was a 5th grader? So G. Brown saved nothing. Encyclopedia Brown mentioned the help he gave his father. He didn't want to seem different from his other boys. There was nothing he could do about his nickname, however. Only his parents and teachers called him by his real name, Leroy. Everyone else called him Encyclopedia. An encyclopedia is a book or set of books filled with facts from A to Z. So was Encyclopedia's head. He had read so many books his pa swore his ears were turning into bookends. More on the evening, G. Brown sipped his soup slowly. Encyclopedia Brown and his mother knew what that meant. He had his mind on a case. Finally, Mrs. Brown said, "Why don't you tell Leroy about it, dear?" She sighed. I don't know, it's an awfully tough case. And he said, "It has me being." "Leroy has never failed you, tell him," urged Mrs. Brown. "Very well," said Mrs. G. Brown. C.T. Butler was kidnapped from his hall last night. Mrs. Brooke asked, Encyclopedia let a lawless whistle. C.T. Butler was a millionaire. He owned a string of pizza bosses in 3 states and a big ocean by the house. Today at noon, Mrs. Butterseed received a phone call, said Mrs. Brown. Chief Brown. A man's voice said that her husband was hard, but he was being held by $500,000 ransom. The caller told Mrs. Butler to bring home tomorrow, at which time she would be told by home where to leave the money. You hope to capture the kidnappers before you pay the ransom, Dad, it said Encyclopedia. We must, replied Chief Brown grimly. Kidnappers want money. Oh, once they gathered, there is no one telling Mrs. what they might do to the victim. Poor Mr. Butler, exclaimed Mrs. Brown. Well, at least you have until tomorrow to find him. There's too little time, said Chief Brown. Somebody must have heard or seen something, said Encyclopedia. Mrs. Brown was of some help, said Chief Brown. From what she told me, it's possible to fit together a few pieces. He took a spoonful of soup. Then he related all that police have been able to learn about the kidnapping. Oh, it's time for my Yahtzee game. Andrew's Doers you want to see tomorrow. Encyclopedia Brown. And the case of the missing visitor. Part 4. Tell your friends about it. Maybe it could be a daily tradition. Take care. Bye.